Recently I played Lord of the Rings: The Third Age, and despite some of its issues, I still had an absolute blast. Now, a lot of you in the comments suggested that I play War in the North next. And like the good little boy that I am, I listened to my masters. Yes, master, I will. And we're playing it. Let's get into it. Now, there's nothing wrong with a turn-based game, but I'm after a Lord of the Rings game that can help me relive some of my childhood memories. No, not those memories. But the fond memories I had playing The Two Towers and Return of the King on the PlayStation 2. Iconic hack and slash games that let you play as the very characters we got to watch in the movies. Yes, I would turn gay for Eradan. Yet despite all of those amazing memories, I ignored pretty much any new Lord of the Rings release. War in the North came out in 2011, and that year games like Skyrim, Dragon Age 2 and Battlefield 3 were released, so it's understandable as to why I missed out on it. Now, at the time, War in the North reviewed pretty poorly. I think Eurogamer gave it a 4, Game Informer gave it a 5.5, I think, out of 10, and the official PlayStation magazine also gave it a 4. But over the last week or so, I've been playing a good amount of this game, so will I think that those scores are justified? Or will I think it's an amazing game? Stay tuned to find out. I happen to also go into these games completely blind, unaware of when it will take place, who we are playing as, or where in Middle-earth we will be. But with this game, I had a sneaky suspicion that this game would be taking place in the north area of the map. Some people call me a modern Sherlock Holmes. Now, I'm not one of those lore fanatics. You could pretty much tell me anything about Middle-earth and I'd probably end up believing you. I can't believe that Berefor fought the Eye of Sauron. That, by the way, is now 100% canon in my eyes. But because of this, I am pretty much able to go into any Lord of the Rings property and enjoy it as long as it takes place in Middle-earth. I love the TV show, okay? Don't come at me. Don't come at me. I'm a little ignorant to the writings of Tolkien. How do you even say his name? But make sure you're not ignorant and subscribe to the channel. In War in the North, we get to play as one of 3 characters that we can switch between throughout the story. So, like the basic bitch that I am, I chose Eradan, the Ranger. I want to pretend that I'm some mysterious stranger in the corner of the prancing pony, but instead of like a pipe, I would have a hot dog or something. Eradan, who is voiced by, you guessed it, Nolan North, who voiced pretty much every title back in the day, is a ranger and a Dunedain, just like Aragorn. Experienced with a sword and a bow, and extremely horrifying to look at. I changed his appearance pretty much straight away. Farin, the mighty dwarf. That's all I need to say about him. He's a dwarf. Axe, crossbow, typical. Does anyone ever play as the dwarves? Let me know in the comments if that's you. Andriel, the elf. And as pretty much every elf in every fantasy ever, she's got that I'm very wise and graceful, yet incredibly powerful. Elves, we don't poo. We don't poo at all, that's disgusting. It's a very typical trio, yet you'll constantly hear the line of, it's not very often we see a man, a dwarf, and an elf fighting side by side. How about side by side with a friend? The story is immediately gripping as our 3 heroes enter the prancing pony to meet up with Aragorn. We warn him that a few days ago, the camp we were defending was attacked by Nazgul, and unfortunately, the battle was lost. Many people died, and luckily for us, we managed to hide in a bush. And lucky we did that, because we get to overhear a conversation between the Witch King himself, who is talking to the big baddie of the game. What's his name? Agendour. And they're discussing how they've assembled an army of orcs at a nearby town called Fornost. And it's right, like, between Bree and the Shire. It's right here. It's very close. That's a pretty bad place to have an army, like, for the good guys. Eradan at this point explains that there is a wee hobbit that is carrying a great burden, and that if the enemy gets a hold of him, then everyone is essentially doomed. Doomed! He tasks us to go to Fort Nost to distract the orcs in the hopes that it gives the hobbit a chance to escape. Now, I don't know if you could tell, again, I'm the modern Sherlock Holmes, but that hobbit happens to be Frodo Baggins. Jokes aside, I love that we are immediately involved in the story of the Lord of the Rings. We don't hold the ring or help transport it in any way, but we have a huge role, even though we don't even know it yet. I found it really absurd how in the Third Age they try to include us a bit too much in the main story, like having us fight side by side with Gandalf on the bridge of Khazad-dûm. Like, it's really cool, but it's stupid. Let's be honest, it's really stupid. But in this game, I like that we take a big role in what's happening, but we don't really interfere with the writings in the book. Like, most of the events that happened in this game probably didn't happen, but it could have. And that's the important part. We do as we are told and head to Fort Nost to distract the orcs and try to kill Agendawa. There we stumble across the next main character, who is a frickin' great eagle that has been captured by the orcs. We manage to free the Great Eagle, who pretty much becomes the fourth member of our party. Now, his name is Balaram, and he has his own tasks that he was told to perform by his Great Eagle King. But he's promised to help us where he can to repay the debt of us saving his life. The Great Eagles, they're exactly that. They're great. Just make sure you're not standing under them when they take a poo. We then bump into the sons of Elrond, of all people, who promise to help us take down Agendawa. But then he escapes on, like, one of those black wings. And it's awkward, we're just standing there like... He escaped, you know that, that meme, John Travolta meme? He escaped. We do get word that Eradan left Bree with a bunch of hobbits and is heading to Rivendell, so we decide to meet up with him there. And we do. He's there. And the whole fellowship is there. It's f***ing awesome. Again, we have nothing to do with the main plot, but who's to say what's happening right now isn't canon in some way or another? We now have the trust of Elrond and even Gandalf as they decide to tell us about the One Ring and how it must be destroyed. Something that I really loved is that we even ask Gandalf why the Eagles can't just take the ring to Mount Doom. It's a question that we've all thought and many people have made memes about. And essentially Gandalf's answer is, you know, the Eagles, they have great intelligence. So they're pretty susceptible to the powers and the corruption of the ring. Plus, if they just flew straight in, they'd probably get killed by the Nazgul and the Black Wings, you know, those dragon things. So, yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Sadly for us, we don't simply just get to retire here in Rivendell, as that would be beautiful. But Elrond is fearful that Agendawa will try to take it over, telling us that he will likely try to recruit the trolls that live in the Etenmoors to bolster the strength of his army. We go from location to location gathering information about Agendawa's plans, killing giant monsters and saving lives as we go along. We even help destroy an ancient dwarven civilization in a suicide mission in the hopes to destroy an orc army. And as we're about to die, like within seconds of being in death, a great eagle comes down and saves us. Yes, unfortunately, the great eagles here are used as a tool to essentially mean that we can never die. About to die? Eagle! About to fall? Eagle! Really hungry? Eagle egg! Yum! Some of it is silly, but there are some truly epic moments. Wow. Like when the trio hunt down a dragon that Sauron and Agendawa are trying to recruit. Only for us to make a better deal with the dragon and convincing him to stay neutral in this war. We helped defend the dwarven kingdom of Nordenbad against orcs and trolls. And it all leads to a final epic battle with Agendour at Khan Doom, the home of the Witch King. It's so epic. And again, I don't have any idea whatsoever, because I'm stupid, right? If any of this could even take place in Tolkien's world. But I loved every goddamn minute of it. And who's to tell me none of this really took place? It did. It happened. In my head, it happened for real. While they didn't actively fight against Sauron or help transport the ring in any way, their role was incredibly important. And honestly, it made me feel like I was a part of the main story in a big way. We all know and love pretty much every character in Lord of the Rings, all amazingly written and unique from one another. And like I said, I love the plot of the game, but boy, are the characters extremely bland. The Fellowship is a fat peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and our trio is just a single piece of white bread with a piece of lettuce on it. Bland. I sometimes think that game developers forget to build character progression. There's no scenes of the trio sitting around a campfire, telling their backstories or cracking some jokes. Why did, Sauron's girlfriend break up with him? Because she found out that he was seeing other people. War in the North is an action RPG at its core, blending hack and slash combat with character progression, skill trees, unique abilities and the such. Each of the three characters play very different, and while they have a standard role in the party, you can pretty much play them however you want. Farin the dwarf is the tank character pretty much. His role is to draw enemies over to him, soak up as much damage as humanly possible, as dwarvingly possible, and stay up when his teammates would fall down so that he can revive them and be the last standing. His skills heavily favour absorbing damage as opposed to trying to dodge them. He can even get a skill that allows him to revive teammates instantly. Andriel the elf is the healer and the caster. She can create large domes that either heal you or protect you from incoming projectiles. But she can also be a badass with her attacks. She can learn a spell that's called Smite that does heavy amounts of damage. She can even learn a skill that lets her carry a sword as well as her staff, just like Gandalf does in The Return of the King. The character I used, Eradan, is again, he's more of a balanced fighter. He can go up close with his sword and shield, or he has a bow for long-ranged combat. Ideally, you want him to ignore damage altogether by either rolling out of the way or going invisible and performing sneak damage on his enemies. I ended up making him a dual wielder, 2 swords at once, so cool. And he had skills that could make him hit multiple enemies at once or pull off a huge points of damage with a single attack. Some RPGs allow you to unlock every skill in a single playthrough. But in War in the North, you need to choose carefully which skills you want to use, as you won't unlock most of them and it's very expensive to reset skill points. I pretty much ignored most of Eradan's skill tree that revolved around his bow and ranged attacks, but I know for a fact that some of you probably know how this game works far better than I, and know every skill that makes him become the best ranger possible. But that's not me. There's also a 3-player mode, so I assume you can go above the level 20 cap. Again, I only played through once. And playing in co-op would be nice, except for the fact that I don't have any friends whatsoever. The loot is something else that I really loved about this game. You are rewarded for killing large enemies or finding hidden paths in each level. Now, as I mentioned before, I made Eradan a dual wielder because I think that's pretty badass. But if you want, you can make him more like Aragorn with a 2-weaponed sword that does larger amounts of damage. Or if you want, you can give him a sword and a shield so that he can absorb more damage. But like I said, he's made more for evading as opposed to absorbing. You will come across new weapons all the time. Some can be magic that have fire or shock damage. Some will increase your stats, like +2 to dexterity, and some can be imbued with gems to make them stronger. You also have a lot of different types of armor that you can wear that have the same types of attributes. One thing that I really liked was some armor are a part of sets. Like the marksman armor set, for example. If you equip one piece, it's like 2 dexterity. If you have 2 pieces of the marksman armor equipped, you get like 35 damage. All the way up to all 6 pieces, which give you a huge boost of 106 damage. This means that just because something appears to have more armor, that it doesn't always mean it's the best item to equip. There are shops you can buy and sell stuff from, and that will help you complete suits or find better weapons. You'll also come across like random shops in the middle of a level. It's like a portal. It's like Doctor Strange is there casting that spell so that you can buy from a shop from Bree or something. It's weird. Now there is one part of the game that I'm really confused about, and this is serious, right? I'm going off script for this, and maybe you can help answer this question for me in the comments if you've played the game a lot. You know how you can swap between the 3 characters? Why can't you swap their gear mid-level? Does that make sense? Before you reach certain points. Like if I find an axe on the floor, I can give it to Farin, but I never know if he then goes and equips it or what he's holding at any given time. I've got to load his character in, and it's a really weird way that they made it. And then I would try to use another character, and then I would find that they've been leveling up, but none of their stats are level and none of their skills are unlocked at all. When the AI are playing as those characters, are they a leveled up version, or do I need to manually go into the game to level them up and then go back to Eradan? Let me know in the comments if you actually know, because I don't think it's explained anywhere. It's a bizarre choice, and I don't like that's the way it is. Combat is something that I really enjoyed, and at no point did I ever find it repetitive. And I would use the same 4 or 5 skills over and over. And I know in hack and slash games, this is always a huge risk, how repetitive the combat gets. There's not a huge amount of enemies that you end up face, but you can learn the moveset of each enemy type relatively easily. And after a while, you would end up feeling like a complete badass when you would successfully evade an incoming attack. I played on normal difficulty and still got knocked down quite a few times, and I even died or failed certain mission objectives. One trial would be occasionally difficult depending on what other enemies there would be, and then they would introduce a second trial or a third trial at the same time, and I was never like, this is repetitive, how boring. I was always like, holy shit, this is awesome. You can also earn bonus experience points by severing the heads of an enemy or performing special finishes. And it was always so satisfying when you saw that little bit of experience and it was like a drug. Yes, more experience. Mine. My experience. And I would get really annoyed when the AIs would kill the enemies. Oh, you got the final blow? That's not fair. I wanted that one. I love an open world game, but occasionally I feel like playing an RPG with super linear levels. Just like every console Lord of the Rings game before it, War in the North has the same level style as those. One real pathway to progress through each area. You're not gonna get lost. Ever. You're never going to be confused as to where to go next. You're not going to be like Dory swimming around the ocean just clueless as to where you are. The level design is pretty standard and nothing too spectacular. Walls that seem like you should be able to walk over, but it will have those, invisible blockers, low poly scenery, and paths that don't make any sense whatsoever. But there's still just some of those moments where the game reminds you that you're in Middle Earth and it's breathtaking. Wake up! Guess what? Don't forget, you're in Middle Earth, alright? Look at that. Look, Mr. Frodo, an elephant. Elephants, Mr. Frodo. That's what was that? Like when you see that long marching army of Orokai and orcs. Or when you visit Rivendell for the first time. Rivendell! Or when you start at the Prancing Pony in Bree. Bree's a little bit lifeless, but it's very, very... It's brimming with personality, my script says. It's brimming with personality. Although... The fact that Bree never stops raining, like you'll visit it months after and it's still raining. What is going on with this town? But whether you are in the dark and creepy Mirkwood trying to free Radagast the wizard, or you are in the Ettenmoors fighting against the stone giant, it still feels like you are in Middle Earth. Even though some of it's pretty basic, I'm not gonna lie, it's still satisfying to explore. I thought War in the North was pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, I would easily give it a 7.5 out of 10. Look, if you're not a fan of Lord of the Rings and you're just playing this game for the hell out of it, sure, a 5 out of 10, that would make sense. But I personally think that the reviewers at the time did this game a little dirty. I'm not gonna lie. The story is creative and it fits perfectly within the story of the books and the movies. The character designs are decent, it's pretty good for the time. I could see that was Frodo Baggins, even though it wasn't voiced by Elijah Wood. The replacement voice actors did a really good job as well. The combat is fairly standard, but there's enough diversity in the combat, should I say. Is diversity a good word there? I don't even know. In the combat to make it feel different each time you do a playthrough. And if, again, you're playing with friends, I've got to think that feels pretty fun. I don't have any friends, again. Please, someone be my friend. And while the level design is nothing amazing, it's still Middle Earth. And that's awesome. Alright, thank you very much for watching another video. We're going back to the future. With the next video, and we're playing Prey. Ah. So make sure you stay tuned for that. It'll be live 2 weeks from when this video was released. Thank you very much for watching. See ya!